Andrew, welcome back.
Hello.
Look, it's always good to have you sitting across from me, and it's always good to sort of talk about where things are and what's going on.
Yeah.
And also sort of get an opportunity to talk about the artist
Yeah.
as well. It's nice to have that back and forth. So it's really cool because we've obviously had Wendy.
Yeah.
She's just come in and sat down and filmed her podcast, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was real cool. Like, I've never met someone who does pottery myself. 30 years on this planet, and that's something I've missed. So
I think it's fair to say that I've never met anyone with any pottery experience based on some of the questions I asked. People will get to hear those questions in the last half of the podcast. But she was super cool. She was very open.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, her journey is really interesting because she biology.
Yeah, well, I was about to say as well, biology is as a base for your like creativity because she didn't have that creative outlet, so she channeled into biological drawing. I was like that. I can see that though because myself, I've been studying biology kind of as a part of my course for the last couple of years. So I fully understand what she means, but we're told don't go artistic with it as well. So I could see what she meant by that started it off as an outlet.
Yeah, and how like she'd. Apart from the drawings that she did whilst studying, she had nothing creative.
Yeah.
Like nothing at all.
And that was because of the teaching style in England at the time.
Yeah.
So.
It's such a fascinating journey because, she's been in New Zealand for 16 years.
Yeah.
And she's only really sort of started doing pottery for 16 years.
Yeah.
And now she's one of the most well-respected potters.
Yeah.
In Northland.
And just hearing how it took off, was an amazing story in itself.
Exactly.
And how she ended up not getting paid for it.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
that sucks.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Because there's a demand for it. So
there is. And then she talks about the last two sort of major competitions that she's done and the success with one of them in particular that she wasn't expecting. I was like, that is so cool. So, just a great podcast. Such a lovely person as well.
Yep.
And just super cool to talk with her. And, she's guest five.
Oh, I'm losing track already.
Yeah. I think she's guest 5. Every single one of them has said...
am I talking too much? Am I
awesome.
rambling on? I'm like, that's the point.
That's the whole point, and that's what's making it so fun.
I don't know if anyone will break that cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Cat's out the bag now, though.
Exactly,
someone will.
Yeah, someone will do it intentionally, like, I'm talking just the right amount. It's like, okay.
Scratch your name off the board.
Exactly, yeah, right. Start back, it resets back to 1. So, no, it's cool. I think people are definitely going to get a lot out of this one.
Yeah.
A lot out of this one because obviously she still does her pottery and she has that passion for teaching as well. So amazing. Cool. So, without further ado, let us sit down and have a conversation with Wendy Cunliffe. Just how it all goes, but wow, Wendy Cunliffe. Cunliffe.
Mm-hmm.
There's no I between the N and the L. No. Wendy Cunliffe.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
To the 5 Elements Media studio, and we're going to sit down and do the Northland Artist Conversation. It's very cool. I have to say, very exciting for myself and the team to have another well-known and respected artist actually want to sit in this chair. So thank you for taking the time to sit down with us. We really, really appreciate it.
That's okay. Bribery's fine. It's good.
Bribery's fine. Yep. Yes. The money will be funneled to your account shortly. If you'll also accept that in the form of Jack Daniels or something like that, that's fine.
Favourite.
Very cool. Awesome. Very nice. So obviously we know each other. We've known each other before this because you and I met through Rayburn House.
Rayburn House Art Gallery, yep.
Absolutely, which is where yourself and Rebecca. You guys run it, eh?
Yep. Just about.
Just about. Just about. Which is really cool. Rayburn House, obviously I'm a huge supporter of, and one of the things that we've sort of started doing is we've been doing these little promo spots kind of in the halfway through the podcast, and Rayburn House is definitely going to be one of the places that we put a little promo spot for. I think we've done them for Creative Northland and 1737 at the moment, but we've got a few others that we're going to do as well, because I love Rayburn House. I bought that painting there.
I know. Every time you come in, you can't resist, can you?
No. I
do enjoy him coming in.
Yeah. I walk in, the wallet opens, and I just can't help myself.
Yes. Here he comes. Quick, show him that one over there.
Nimi is amazing at that. Yeah. She's like, good, let's part with some cash.
Yes.
I was like, oh, no. It's terrible. But it's great. It's great. I have all of the pieces of art that I've got in the house. It's lovely, and it's nice to have that piece there, and I've got another piece behind you as well that a friend of mine did, which is very, very cool. So it's awesome. So let's cover off some basic information. Wendy Cunliffe, no I, and you're not really on social media or anything, are you?
No,
not really. No.
I like to keep it hidden.
Keep it hidden. Keep it simple.
Yes.
That's it. Let the work speak for itself.
Exactly, yes.
Absolutely.
Put it out there, and if they like it, they like it. They don't need to about me.
There you go. Yeah, that's fine. But that's okay, because how long have you been doing pottery for?
Pottery, probably about 15 years.
Wow.
Mainly when I first got here about 16 years ago. So I just needed something to do. Mm-hmm. And I met a friend at Swing Jive, and she said, she's British as well.
Yep.
And she said, let's find something we both want to do. I want to do pottery. Do you fancy coming? And I said, yeah, I've done a bit before, just playing around. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we went for it.
So you just said that when you came here 16 years ago, so obviously not from New Zealand.
England.
From England?
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Where in England?
Well, my dad was in the RAF, so we moved around quite a bit.
Okay.
And then when I got of age, I went to boarding school, because that's what military families did. So I went to boarding school in Bristol. Bristol.
Bristol. In relation to London, where's...
It's down a bit and over a bit.
Down a bit?
Over that way.
Over towards the...
Towards... Oh, what is it? The west. Go down and west.
So inland.
Yeah, and then you go down and you eventually come to Cornwall and that way.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Okay. All right. So you're at boarding school. Mm-hmm. Have you had any sort of creative interests up until this point?
I always liked biology.
Okay.
Even from an early age, just finding things in the garden and rearranging things in the garden, and mainly looking at flowers, because I just thought it was so fascinating how nature did everything perfectly. A lot of us can't reproduce anyway, or wouldn't know where to start. But nature just does everything. It has spirals, it has circles, it has neat things, and they're all. And I just thought that was fascinating right from an early age. I don't remember doing any art at school or as a child. I must have, because we always had art lessons.
Yes.
So the only lesson I do ever remember is how to change a plug and how to prune a rose, which was...
Change a plug as in...
And plug sockets, yeah.
Okay, so electrical work.
Yeah. It was something we just had to learn.
Yep.
And how to iron a tea towel.
Things
stay with you.
Absolutely. When I was at intermediate, and I remember this very, very well, we had to do woodwork, metalwork, sewing, and cooking. Now... Woodwork, I made what did you have to make? You had to make like a set of salad tongs, and the fork was just horrifically thin, and you could just like snap it super easy, but the spoon was thick as anything. It was hearty, and metalwork, I was bloody appalling. I couldn't even make a little keychain that had Mark Kelly. I couldn't even spell my own name. Go M-A-K, shit, spelled it wrong.
Yeah.
But it was the cooking that I really liked. I too learnt practical skills at school. So you really have no creative background, and then you go to boarding school, and then what's that like for you?
That was horrendous.
Okay, yeah.
It was the headmistress was an ex-paratrooper, and she went round in a cape and a bowler hat, and her best friend was Bunny, the history teacher. She was also ex-paratrooper. So you can imagine what it was like. We weren't allowed to go out at weekends. We wore school uniform the whole time, evenings, weekends, a lot. If you did go out, you had to see matron first, and you had to be at least 4 of you together.
A group?
Yes.
Okay.
And I remember once I'd been at home and I'd happened to meet this young officer, because military things.
Military, yep.
Oh, my days. And he came up the drive. He wanted to come and meet me at boarding school. So he knocked on the front door, and the matron came out. And, of course, everybody's slammed against the refectory windows then watching.
Oh, yeah.
Because men aren't allowed anyway.
No.
And this stupid-looking, bless him, nice short hair and all crisped down and strutting up to the door.
Yeah.
Wanting to talk to Miss Perry, please. And they took us into the parlour, and we had to sit in the parlour with matron looking through the flaps, and, the door thingy.
Yes, yep.
Watching us the whole time. I've never been so ribbed in my life.
Oh, wow.
Just don't come see me again.
Yeah, everyone just giving you shit the whole time?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It was
fun to say.
Yeah.
Memorable. Did you find through... Because I'm guessing because it was a boarding school, it was quite structured.
Yes, very.
Was there anything sort of arts related in school at all? No.
Well, if you went down the science route, which I did, you stuck to the sciences. I wanted to do English literature, art and biology, but because my strong subject was biology, I had to do biology, physics, chemistry and extra maths.
Okay.
And that's the route they took you down.
Right. So you couldn't just blend different...
No.
Okay.
No. Which was quite, what do you call it, oppressive.
Yeah, definitely.
If that's what you really like. But see, doing the biology, he got top marks for dissecting a worm.
Okay.
And you had to show its 5 pairs of hearts, and my drawings were amazing. I just found that the most fascinating thing, to draw all the detail, and insides of a rat. Whoa.
Okay. I'm just
sorry.
You said 5 sets of hearts.
5 pairs of hearts.
5 pairs of hearts and a worm.
Yes. Very tiny.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. I don't know if the other guys had ever... No.
Don't quote me, but it's a long time ago.
There's a lot of head shaking going on there. Wow, 5 sets of hearts. That's amazing.
They're quickly Googling it.
Yeah.
We'll cut that bit.
The editor's on the phone. He's like, it really is 5. That's amazing. So, obviously, you sort of have a creative lean because these drawings are obviously so incredibly well done. So you finish up at school, and you're like, I'm free. I'm gonna burn the uniform because I never want to see that thing again. Where do you go from there?
I went to York to do teaching because I wanted to teach biology.
Okay.
So I did that for a couple of years. Decided I didn't like the teaching side of it because they decided on a new way of doing things, in that rather than wait till your second year to put you on teacher training practice, they flung you in the first year with no training really. And I did my first teacher training in a secondary modern school in Knaresborough, which is up Yorkshire way.
Okay.
And a bit rough. They frisked all the children as they went into the prayers in the morning.
The pat downs?
Yeah, pat them down. Yeah.
Yep.
So they were quite a violent lot. And in fact, just after I left, they had to cut a young lad down that somebody had tried to string up in the classroom. It was a pretty bad school to send a first person into, for having been at an all-girls boarding school, to suddenly go into a school like that with people I didn't know schools were like that,
Wow.
My head just wouldn't have put up with that.
Oh, no.
But I remember, and they gave me sex education to do. I mean, you know,
biology,
deep end.
Yeah, sure.
So
first year,
I had some male and female guinea pigs.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
As you imagine, but
yeah,
I'd got them from the university freezer. So by the time I got on the train journey and everything to school, they weren't quite defrosted enough. So I put them on the radiators around the classroom while we had started the lessons. Well, as they defrosted, one fell off. I mean, never seen girls move so fast. They thought it'd come to life again. So we had a bit of fun.
Okay. So
yeah.
So you've left an all-girls boarding school.
Yes.
You've gone to another school to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And in your first year, your job is to do sex education with semi-defrosted guinea pigs.
Yes.
You actually can't write that sort of stuff. I don't know. No, everyone's like looking around going, no, you just can't write that shit. That's amazing. Okay. Wow. So you work out that teaching really isn't your thing.
I enjoyed it, but I wasn't allowed to do what I wanted to do. Which was, again, the more creative side. You're stuck to a syllabus, and it's all getting the right grades, getting the right marks. It's all a lot of paperwork, and it's not enjoying the children, and it's not teaching them at their level.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, even nowadays, in certainly in primary schools in England, there's a maths hour, there's an English hour, and every school is teaching the same lesson at the same time every day, and they get written words to say, sentences to say, and how the children will respond. So really a puppet could do it. But if a child isn't learning, I would want to then experiment in a different way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
A practical way, because a lot of them don't see it academically.
Yep.
You know, they all mature at different ages. And I would want to try a different method, but you couldn't. You had to stick to that regime.
So very,
and
very rigid.
And if they hadn't got it that day, pity, because the next day you're on the next page.
Oh, wow.
And no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, you know, what is it they say? People have got 3 learning styles. They see, they hear, they do. You know, and with I guess with something that regimented, it really kind of leaves out the I do part.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get it, tough, we're just moving on. Yeah, okay.
It's like it was more important for 5-year-olds to write a sentence with capital letters and full stops than to be able to use a pair of scissors to cut out things. They didn't have that time to create and make things, you know. And in the end, I worked with special needs children, 1-to-1, because then you can do that sort of thing. One little girl I worked with, she had no idea about numbers at all, so we made them into characters. A 2 was a swan, an 8 was a snowman. Oh, yeah, and if we put a snowman and a swan together, you've got a round swinging gate on a stick, you know. 8, 9, 10, yeah. Just checking that one. My maths was different to her maths, but, you know. So it was, you had to think on your feet and you had to be creative to try and see what stimulated them. So that I found interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, because essentially it allows you the creative freedom to work out how you're going to teach them in a way they're going to understand, as opposed to going, here is the book, and it's book by numbers, which is terrible. I had that growing up. Yeah. Although, I think that was how it was taught.
Yeah.
I am 47, so I guess that's kind of how it was. I'm old.
A whippersnapper.
A whippersnapper. How long did you teach for?
Who can say? I was 20-something up till I came here.
Oh, so a
few years.
Okay, so it was.
I did a lot of supply teaching. I did a lot of one-on-one teaching with the special needs whilst I raised a family.
Right. Yep.
Somebody had to have the school holidays. You know, if your husband's in the military, he's working. You know, whenever the Queen says jump, he jumps. You know.
Yep.
Literally, he did do some parachuting while I was about a week off having my first baby. He went away for a week's parachuting. And I thought,
oh my goodness.
You know, his first jumps. And when he rang me in the evenings to tell me what had happened, I'm going to have this baby any minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, that's crazy.
Anyway, so somebody had to be at home to have the school holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're still not even really doing much creativity even in England, but sort of before you migrate over?
Apart from my sons, both of my sons, they did art, O-level or A-level, whatever it was, and I didn't cheat. I didn't do their work for them, but I was there hours and hours and hours being creative with them.
Right. Guiding them.
Yes.
Supporting them. Yeah.
My middle son, he wasn't that creative, but he wanted to make masks of different facial expressions.
Oh,
so,
nice.
So he got my husband to sit still and covered his face in cling film with a few holes, which I just left a few important holes.
Holes.
And then you can get like this bandage, like you have when you.
You're right.
When you have a broken arm or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
I can't remember what it's called now, but so we had a lot of that, and we did his face in that and made him sit there until it had gone solid, and then peeled it off.
Is it plaster of Paris or something?
It's like that. It's like a bandage wrapped in plaster of Paris.
Yeah. Okay.
You can still get it now for art and craft stuffs, but that was quite an exciting event.
That would have been pretty fun.
Good on him. It was for us, not for my husband, but it was for us.
Maybe not. I mean, Glad wrap doesn't exactly breathe.
No.
That sense of suffocation.
Yeah, it could be straws.
Yeah, exactly. Straws poking out the nostrils. Yeah. So, okay. I can just imagine it. So, what brings you to New Zealand?
Our daughter. She got married one day and emigrated the next. She'd never been to New Zealand before. They just decided there was nothing here in England for them, no jobs. So they just got on a plane and left. And got here and bought a second-hand caravan and just toured around a bit until they found somewhere. But within about a year or so, she had a baby. So Mummy's got to come.
Yeah, that's it.
We did come out a few times to visit, but then, I shot out on my own, scared of flying, but I was going to come and see her. And then when I got here, I wrote to my husband and said, get the house on the market because I've put an offer in on a house here. So can you come home first?
Don't give them a choice. It's just here's what's happening.
Yep. I mean, we had roughly discussed it, and I still got a piece of paper that he slipped into my passport saying, we'll move there one day to see what you can find. So proof.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did.
Wow, that's very cool. Awesome. So your daughter's here with her husband. Partner.
New partner. Yes.
New partner. And no, she moves from England to here with her husband.
With her husband, yeah.
Yeah. She has the baby. Mum's like, well, I'm not going to miss out on seeing my grandchild.
Yeah.
Comes over, and husband follows straight away, or just...
I had to go back to England for my other son's wedding.
Okay,
so,
right.
And my husband, myself, and my youngest son, we all came out together then.
Nice. So, been here for about 16 years. And your friend kind of encourages you to get into pottery. Mm-hmm. With, I guess, the sort of interesting thing about doing this podcast is hearing people's stories about how they learn about new things sort of going along and what it's like for them when they first start. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask the question, how were you when you first started?
Brilliant.
Okay, right. And modest.
No, I have still got some of the very first pieces in the garden. Well, in the garden, they're not allowed in the house.
Okay, right.
And you look back and you think, what were you thinking? At the time you thought, wow, look what I made. And then you look back and think...
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I look back on some of my earlier songs that I'd written or co-written, and I was like going, what am I doing here? I don't understand this. This doesn't make any sense. So your pottery is just kind of a fun thing.
It was just like a hobby.
Like a hobby, yeah. Okay.
But then we decided that we needed to finance the hobby because clays and glazes and firings get expensive, and I didn't have a job.
Yep.
So my husband said I needed to go and get a job.
Okay.
So my friend and I started a lawn mowing gardening business because we both had lawn mowers.
Yeah.
And she had a van.
Okay.
So it was a cheap start.
Well, makes sense. Yeah.
So we did that. So we went and mowed 50 lawns a week, every week. And then when we got too many lawns, we sold those off and carried on again.
Yeah.
But it financed our hobby then.
Mm-hmm.
And also when you go around to different people's gardens, people have art in the gardens.
Yes,
and that was really cool to look at. And you know, you come back with it. I can make that, you know, and you have a go yourself. So it was seeing all these other things that was also quite inspiring. You know, what other people like to have and that you want, but you can make it yourself.
Yeah, you kind of you want it, but you don't want to pay for it.
No, but you couldn't
see
pay
if you
for
can
it.
do it. Do it yourself. Nice, very cool.
Yeah.
One of the organisations that proudly supports the Northland Artist Conversation is Creative Northland. I'm going to take just a moment to talk to you guys about it. Creative Northland have been absolutely vital in helping this project get off the ground through its infancy and all the way through to where we are now. We couldn't have done what we've done without their assistance. What we suggest is that if you're a creative person and you haven't heard of Creative Northland, we highly recommend that you reach out to them. Creative Northland, simply do a Google search. They're the top result. These guys are wonderful. They're all creatives in their own way, and they're all very, very well respected throughout the industry that they work in. They're very hardworking, absolutely committed and dedicated to helping the creative people throughout Northland, whether it be through simple things like starting up a project, all the way through to putting on like an exhibition, for example, all the way through to working out how they can start turning what they do into a business. It's all free advice. They give really, really good guidelines and helpful assistance to make sure that you, as a creative, are able to get the most out of what you do. Creative Northland, highly recommend them. Check them out. Oh, it's hilarious. So you're mowing lawns to finance your addiction. Mm-hmm. That's essentially what it is. Which is funny because there was a point in time in my life where I was running a lawn mowing business, and it was also the most incredibly creative period of my time. I wrote a short film, was doing acting, teaching theatre sports, and doing music at the same time.
So when do you get time to mow lawn?
Well, I would wake up at 6 a.m, go play a game of squash, and then go mow lawns for 10 to 12 hours, play another game of squash, and then would do everything sort of in the evening. Wow. So it can't have been too dissimilar from yourself. Maybe not the squash part, but...
Definitely not the squash part.
Not the squash part.
I did learn to do squash at college.
Yes.
And my then... boyfriend, now my husband, he was teaching me to play squash, but it was, do this shot, and if you got it wrong, do it again till you get it right.
Yeah.
And no, that's not. I just play to play.
Yeah.
I went to see him play. I found that he played badminton, so I thought, I do badminton. Yeah. Family used to play badminton in the garden, mm-hmm. So I went there, and before he came in the door, luckily, they put me on with pairs, and I stood there with my racket ready, and they're all bobbing about, mm-hmm. And it was whoosh, 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 and the game was over. I haven't seen the shuttlecock yet.
Yeah.
So when he came in, they said, he's got the college colours for badminton. So I said, see you later.
Yeah.
It's a different level.
It is.
So I just play to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's everything I do. It's just have fun.
Whack it, have a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, can't be serious.
Yeah,
so,
no.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. That's good. So you're mowing your lawns. Mm-hmm. You and your friend, and you're using it to buy all of the clay and the glazes, and because you also do you have to buy kiln time or
yeah
okay because kilns aren't cheap.
They're expensive. We're trying to fundraise to get a new one for Firebirds at the moment,
right?
Because we've got one,
yes,
and we've got about 60 members. It's only a little room, so we have to rotate throughout the week.
That's the one at the back of.
Back at the art studio,
yes,
down at Rayburn,
yep.
So we've got one kiln, which fires about 3 times a week at the minute because we're having to keep it going. We're trying to fundraise for another one, and last year when we started, it was about 14,000
for a kiln.
Yep, and now it's 17,000 for the same one.
Whoa.
And we can't keep up with it.
Okay, so the viewers here,
yes,
and the listeners, where do they go to contribute to the fundraising?
Well, hopefully we're going to have stalls at Christmas time.
Yes.
22nd of October.
Cool.
We're going to start having Rayburn House is going to have stalls out the front, mm-hmm. like the Canopy Bridge. In fact, we said we were going to do it because the Canopy Bridge wasn't, but now they are. So the Canopy Bridge is opening in October, after all.
Is that the Artisans?
Yeah, the Artisans Canopy Bridge with all the...
Yeah, because that moved down to Rayburn House.
Yeah,
for a
2
little
years.
Or is it going back?
2 years it did, and then they said no more, so it's gone back to the bridge.
Okay, right.
And I think they were having some troubles with other people not wanting to do it up there, whatever, I don't know.
Yep,
or
yep.
COVID, nobody wants to put stalls out there and nobody come to them.
Yeah, sure.
But now they're going to do it, so we're still going to do it.
Excellent.
More foot traffic.
Brilliant.
And then the Firebirds will have stalls out there selling their pottery.
Very cool.
We do art in the garden. We have stalls there when Sue Russell does those in her garden, the art in the garden. We sell fundraising there. And we're hoping to have some events where people can come and have a drink, have a lump of clay, and have a bit of fun, making something
bit of a laugh.
with a little bit of instruction.
Yeah, well.
And a little wine, probably.
I could... the little potter's wheel, little glass of vino.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that drink and paint, don't they? There's a
yes.
It's one of those.
That started up quite recently, if I remember rightly. I think I saw something on Facebook about it. It's a great idea.
So why not just have a social occasion where you can have a go at something?
Yeah,
yeah.
And obviously, if people want to support getting a kiln, they can attend those events, or they can just sort of go down to Rayburn House and
buy our stuff in Rayburn House, because most of us sell our stuff in there.
Yeah. Look, everyone at home, wherever you're listening or watching, go down to Rayburn House and talk to Wendy, because it's an incredibly good endeavour to be a part of. I'd highly recommend it. And it's just another way for people to kind of give back to the artistic community as well,
giving
right?
back to the locals.
Yeah. And if they get some fun or some joy out of it as well, that's also a bonus.
Yep, totally.
Yeah, very cool. So let's sort of go back. That's fine. That's what it's all about. We just
plug it when you can.
Randomly segue into things. So you're doing the lawns, you're buying your equipment, and you're kind of getting your work out there. It's still amateur at this point, or still novice?
Probably novice then.
Okay.
Yeah. And we mostly did it in the evenings. We used to belong to the Firebirds when they were at the Quarry Arts Centre.
Oh yes, yes.
In fact, we also had another venture there where we were making concrete garden art, the two of us, with a big concrete mixer.
Oh really? So actually, like.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
we did that for a bit and sold some of those, but it got a bit heavy. lifting them all up and taking them all to the fairs and things. And so pottery is a lot lighter than. Yeah. Concrete.
Yeah, pottery is often not a two-person job with some kind of dolly to move things around. Yeah.
Yeah. So we ventured into that at one stage, but moved back again.
So you're sort of getting a bit more skill, as I think with any creative endeavour, the more you do it, the better you become over time. When did you start selling your pottery? And can you remember the first piece you sold?
Ooh.
I love this sort of stuff.
Yeah. I think the first piece was actually at the Quarry Arts Centre.
Yeah.
Because they had a pottery. I don't know whether it was just pottery or whether it was all members exhibition. Anybody member of the Quarry Arts Centre put things in.
Yeah.
And I had a piece in there, and it was a sort of vase, but it was a cat.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of my things are cats, although I'm not a cat person. They turn out cats.
Right.
And it had just a tail sticking out of its mouth.
Right.
And there was also a dog there, I think, as well. But that was the first item that sold. And it sold to one of my good friends who was a better potter than me. And she just said, I like your work and I love it and I can't do it myself, so I had to buy it.
Really?
And she's actually bought quite a few of my pieces since then. She's a bit like a roadie or whatever you call it. No, not a roadie.
She's a fan.
A fan, yeah.
She's a super fan. She's a fan.
She's a fan, yeah.
That's very cool.
So, yeah.
So, I'm not going to ask you how much, but what was the feeling of actually having sold that very first piece? I
couldn't believe that somebody, thought it was worth buying. I mean, I thought it was good and I thought it was funny, but that was me.
Yeah.
I'd done it, so of course it was. But for somebody else to appreciate it, and for them to be a potter themselves who was, I think, quite well known, potting all her life.
So a peer.
So
Yeah.
So that was just kudos. Oh,
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah.
Validation.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I don't suck.
And sometimes you need that. You know?
Absolutely.
It's like the people I work with and teach now, I encourage them to put their stuff into Rayburn House, and when they sell it, they can't believe it. I said, well, it's good. Why would you just make it to clutter up your house?
Yeah.
Obviously keep a lot of it for yourself. It's like
yes.
it's like when the flax weaving people.
Yes.
When Wendy Cunliffe taught me to do some flax weaving, because you've got to integrate a bit of everything into your own.
Oh yeah.
She says the very first one you make of anything, you keep it, or I think you keep that one.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to keep some of your own stuff. You can't just sell everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. The house is cluttered with it. Yeah.
Well, that's okay, because when what is it they say, when you pass on, and your art becomes worth more. That's worth more. So when do you would you consider yourself to be a full-time potter?
I would say I am now, apart from running Rayburn House.
Yeah.
That's a voluntary thing, so
yes.
that doesn't count. But full-time potting, I mean, I used to go down there virtually every day, but not so much to pot. I pot when I come home, but when I'm down there, I'm teaching all the others or helping all the others, because that's what I find more fun.
Yeah.
And I did run last year. I got a grant. So I advertised that there was a free pottery classes, 6 weeks of pottery classes for free. And the grant covered the clay, it covered this, it covered that, and it covered a little bit of tuition for me.
Sure.
But in the end, I ended up running 4 classes a week because there was so much, and I couldn't turn them away.
Yeah, no.
Because, if they're going to be enthusiastic, you can't say no.
Yes.
And I couldn't say no. So I ended up running 4 classes a week, and I didn't actually have enough to pay myself then. So
really?
So, yeah, and in fact, I actually did donate most of the glazes as well, because I couldn't stop myself. Anyway, but the feedback was just amazing.
Yeah.
And most of them have joined the Firebirds now, which is why we've got such a big,
which is why you've got as many members as you do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool, because I mean that's essentially multiple things. Your love of your creativity and what you do, but then also your love of teaching, but then also the teaching that you want to do and the way you want to do it, not being constrained and bound.
Because we did have a group of teenagers come in from the schools when they have foreign students over.
Oh, yes,
and they just have activities for them. And one of the activities was to come down to the pottery studio, and I had the art studio next door, because there was about 17 of them. And they wanted a project that they could do together and work in groups, and they had to interact with each other. So I decided that they could make chess pieces, but they had to be Kiwi chess pieces. So I'd shown them how to do little kiwis and little sheep and some tick-tock thing, tick-tick-tick-tick, that thing.
Yeah.
So they could work together as to what would be a king, what would be a queen, and if like a sheep had a flower on its head, it was the queen, or if it had a crown, it was. So they had to work out how to represent each thing and work together in a little unit, and they were absolutely fantastic.
So they get to design it and concept, and then actually make
work together as a team to do it.
Wow.
Because you can't have 3 kings on a chessboard, that's something.
No.
They had to decide who was doing what, and they all had to obviously integrate and match. So that was just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. And what did the end result sort of look like?
They were impressive.
Really?
Really impressive, yeah.
Yeah. Is it something that you sort of, when you're teaching people and someone sort of has that little moment that it's like, well, that's actually really, really good. Much like with the kids as well. Do you, how do you inspire them to continue?
Well, some of them actually, when I taught them how to do something, then somebody else needed to know how to do it. So I asked them to show them how they'd done it. And I got I've got hairs on my arm now coming up. They got so much pleasure out of showing off what they could do and what they'd learnt to their classmates.
Yeah.
and it just kept them going.
Yeah.
And then the teachers wanted to carry on and have more classes come back, but COVID came, so but it's that little bit of praise and giving them the power to teach somebody else, and they get that little feeling. And because what's his name, Pottery Throwdown, the Great British Pottery Throwdown.
I've never heard of this.
Oh, you've got to watch that.
What is this Pottery Throwdown you speak of?
There's a group of people that are chosen, about 17 people, and each week they've got to do a tea set and something else. And the last one usually do is like a toilet or something like that has to actually flush, and they've got just that time to do it in, and it's fine. And the person that judges it, he, really big guy, hardly any hair, and he gets really emotional if he finds a piece of work that somebody's done. You could see his lips start to quiver, and he starts to cry, and everyone waits for the cry moment because they know they've done a fantastic piece of pottery.
Yeah.
And I found when I was teaching my classes, I would go around and I'd sort of explain that what somebody's done, or look at this piece they've done, and I would start tearing up, and it was just,
really,
God, I've turned into him. I used to laugh at him for tearing up, but you just tear up, and the hairs stand up on your arm when somebody actually achieves something that you didn't. Well, you knew they could do it. You knew that it was in there somewhere, but and they're so proud of it. To have achieved something, and it's also I thought the little fact that you've got them there. It's me that's got them there, maybe.
Yeah. Well, because you've essentially, is it sometimes an undiscovered talent that you're kind of helping them discover that they nurture and then grow?
A lot of them they say, "Oh, I've never done, I can't do pottery." Yeah, you put them in the right direction, and you find what actually suits them, and they're away, and it's just beautiful.
That's brilliant. Yeah, you can't ask for much more than that. So at the moment, you're volunteering at Rayburn House, and you're teaching the classes as well. You're still teaching? I'm
not so much teaching. I'm not teaching anymore. What I'm doing is actually, when I go down to the pottery studio, I encourage. It's like teaching, but it's just answering all their questions.
Sure.
And showing them things. And anybody new that comes along, I will give them a crash course, because they've got to know somewhere to start. And then it's like a self-help group after that.
Okay.
Because I can't be there 24/7.
No, you can't. I mean, we've all got our own stuff and our own lives to do. Now, you've obviously had this really wonderful career that you've done, and then I guess it's a little bit tough because as a potter, you want people to be able to see your work and interact with it and have exhibitions and places to find it. How challenging was it with COVID having come along?
COVID was horrendous for me because I'm a sociable person.
Yeah.
I have to do things like down at the pottery club I go to painting classes on a Friday. I don't paint at home ever. I only paint there, although I don't often paint a lot because the door opens into the pottery studio, and I tend to creep away from my painting. I'll do that. Yeah. And what's going on over here? Yeah. But no, it crushed me. I couldn't. I find it horrible. I needed other people around me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, my family, bless them, they could go and do their own thing. They were quite happy to go and sit and paint on their own or potter on their own or whatever. But I needed other people around me all the time. So I just, didn't do much at all.
Is it that sort of sense of community?
Yeah, I have to have the community around me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So obviously we've sort of come out of COVID now, and fingers crossed. I don't know how long it's going to be with us for, but and I guess for you, is it sort of about opening up those teaching doors again?
I would like to open up those teaching doors.
Awesome.
But I'd also like to have a bit more time for me to do something now, because there's a few things that I've been entering into, like the sculpture Northland in the Quarry Gardens.
Yes.
I've entered that twice now. And the first time I did it, it had to be a big structure, and I thought, well, what can you do in clay that's big if you've only got a small kiln? So I made the terracotta army, which was like the terracotta army, but they all had cats' heads. and mice tails and things.
Talking about, I'm sorry, I'm looking at looking at the editors and producers. We were talking about that before. It's like, oh, she did a terracotta army, and I was like, oh man, it's okay. Yeah. It's like, no, the terracotta army. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there was like 12 cats about so big.
Yeah.
All in regiment, and I thought, well, I'll sell it as an installation.
Yes.
But when it came to it, people wanted to buy them individually, so I sold them individually, and then I got orders for another. That was 12, so I got an order for about another 24. And then about 6 months later, somebody said, somebody would like the whole installation. Please, can you do another 12?
Really?
I never want to see another one again in my life.
Orders available through Rayburn House.
No.
But
that got to production line in the end for me.
Yeah.
And then the second time I did it, I made some pottery bamboo sticks and hammocks between them. Pottery hammocks with different animals in the hammocks just hanging about.
No cats.
There was a cat. There was a couple of cats.
Couple of cats. Of course there is.
And a frog. And a kiwi.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was another. And the Terracotta Army, I got 3rd place in the People's Choice Award.
Wow.
Then the next year I got 2nd place in the People's Choice Award.
Yeah.
This time I didn't enter. I gave my husband the chance, and he got 1st place at the People's Choice Award.
Oh, stop it. The Cunliffe household gets 3, 2, 1. Or you could look at it and go, you enter twice, get pretty close. He enters once, top prize.
Oh, but it was beautiful.
That's amazing. What did he do?
He did some copper bluebells with pottery, ceramic bluebells on the top, 3 ceramic bluebells on these big copper things, about 3 or 4 foot high.
Wow.
Beautiful. Yeah, he deserved it.
There'd be a lot of time commitment put into that.
Yes, and he's got 5 more orders, so he's working like stink now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So
because he's a potter as well.
Okay.
But he works on the wheel, so he's a perfectionist on the wheel. He just keeps going.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, okay, look, that's a really good question. So I'm going to show a little bit of my ignorance here, which will be quite exciting. You and your husband are both potters. Mm-hmm. Okay. And your husband works on a wheel. Okay. Now that's as in the movie Ghost, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. So I'm going to plead a little bit of ignorance here. When you're telling me that you're doing pottery, I've only ever thought of it being on a wheel.
Right.
So when you're telling me you're making cats, I'm like sitting here going, so she's got this wheel and she's building this cat, and I'm like, how the hell do you do that? And then before, when you say it's a cat with a tail coming out of its mouth, I was like, how on earth do you do that on a wheel? What the hell's going on? So, I won't say ignorant, but for the people like myself that just don't know, there is actually multiple disciplines in pottery, right?
There's hand building.
Yes.
Which is what I do.
Which is what you do.
Yeah. And there's sculpturing,
yes,
which is like people like Del Pryor. She sculptures, beautiful sculptures in clay.
Okay, yes.
Whereas I build.
Okay, so yours is like little elements and you kind of stack it all together?
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
Okay, yep.
So that's like the Terracotta Army. They're not even round, so they wouldn't have been done on a wheel. A wheel is very... Are you thinking 2D on a wheel?
No, yeah.
Because that's all you have to do. It's how wide and how tall.
Yes.
And the rest just follows round.
Okay.
Whereas hand building, you go in every direction, and you know the wheel's your oyster really with it. You can add stuff from the wheel onto it.
Yep. Yes.
And vice versa.
Yep.
So you can integrate them. But one is my husband is just starting to learn some hand building, and we've done a few courses together.
Right.
Which, Carla Rucker came up from Auckland and ran a course with us for hand building really big things.
Nice.
So he joined in that.
Yep.
But I probably stay away from the wheel myself, mainly because it'd be a fight. But, you know...
One wheel too.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
Because he does teach the wheel to anybody that wants to do it. But he does always... It's usually women, and he always starts to introduce them by... But have you seen the film Ghost? No, don't do it.
Well, that's
I'm stood right here. I'm like a flipping ghost.
It's the only point of reference I had was it's like Ghost. It's like
that's what everybody thinks of when they think of pottery.
Exactly,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, I must plead my ignorance. That's exactly how I thought pottery was. I didn't think of it. So
and there's different clays, you see. There's different clays for on the wheel, and there's clays for sculpturing, there's clays for doing big things. You can't just buy one kind of clay and stick it and then expect to do all different clays. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not one clay to rule them all.
No.
Okay.
And when I'm teaching, I usually use what we call paper clay, which is clay with paper in it.
Okay, right, yep.
Because it's really strong.
Sense. Yes.
And because it's got paper in it, it doesn't shrink as much because the paper takes up space in the clay.
Right, yes,
so
yes.
When it burns, it burns out, but it means that the clay is lighter and it's not going to shrink because it's the clay.
In the kiln, yeah? Okay, right.
Because a lot of things that you build, they can shrink 14%. So, if you're going to make an egg cup, make it for an ostrich, but then...
It'll shrink out. Wow.
Well, it won't shrink that much, but small ostrich.
Yeah, small ostrich.
But paper clay doesn't shrink as much, so it's less likely to crack. So it's a good thing for beginners and a good thing for people that are going to go really fine. Because you can go literally paper thin with it.
Yeah. So when you entered the competition for, is it Sculpture Northland?
Yeah.
You're doing the building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're doing your little individual pieces, and then, you know what? The only way I could think of it, in terms of a way that I might understand, is in movies when they are designing models or characters or stuff like that, they build little maquettes out of clay. Is that the sort of thing? That sort of thing,
but think bigger, yeah.
Okay, but bigger. Yeah. Okay, right.
It's like rolling, for the terracotta, it's like rolling out pastry. So you get a big slab of clay, wrap it around a form, and then you've got the body.
Yes.
And then you make a ball for the head.
Yeah.
Hand build a ball, and then you gradually put them all together. But that is, again, another clay, because that's clay which is what they call it's grogged. It means it has fine, crushed up, already fired clay in it, and it makes it really strong then. And then you can go bigger.
Okay, right.
So that's the trouble when you get into it. There's so many different techniques and different things you can do.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here completely blown away at the moment and feeling completely bad. Okay, so you're doing the building. Your husband sort of mainly focuses more on the wheel?
Mm.
Yep, okay. And then you guys obviously have this really, really good success.
Yeah.
Which is amazing and very, very cool in itself. And that... Sculpture Northland event has happened this year, or is it yet to happen?
It's every 2 years, and it's just happened. It's just finished. They've got the award ceremonies next Tuesday.
So Tuesday the...
5th?
Tuesday do we know what next Tuesday is?
I think it's
date-wise?
the 5th, is it? Anyway, they're doing an awards ceremony then.
So it's 2 weeks' time then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the 7th is
or is it the Monday?
That's okay. We'll figure it all out.
It's the Monday because I'm putting up a new exhibition at Rayburn that day.
There you go.
Yes,
okay.
You would get there in the end.
We'll get there in the end. No, that's excellent. Thank you for that. I'd like to thank my producers for helping out at that point. Is the other pieces still available for people to view?
What, my pieces or his pieces?
The Northland sculpture pieces.
No, they've all been sold.
Oh wow!
And it's only on for 10 days, and
right.
then everything just about sells and goes. Yeah.
Far out.
So yeah, it's all gone.
Okay.
You have to be quick.
Yeah, definitely.
They do have a VIP night before it opens, and a lot of stuff goes then. So
right.
You have to be really quick.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's every 2 years, that one.
Okay, so the next one will be 2024.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to postpone because of the thing. But Sue in Art in the Garden.
Yes.
She has one in December, and she does like an Art in the Garden thing where we all bring our pottery and structures in there, and that's another place to sell lots of things. And because one of my things that I do when I'm teaching, the first thing I ever teach somebody to do is to make a ball.
Okay.
You make two bowls and put them together and make a ball. Once you've got a ball, you can do just about anything. And so I have them as fat ladies swimming, which you sort, not over till the fat lady swims. And so I've got all those fat ladies swim, and all it is a ball with limbs on. So then, and I sold loads of those in her garden.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time I thought I've got to do something else now. So I made them all into animals, but they were on parachutes. So there's all parachute pets. So that was another thing that so hundreds of after 40 of those, because I kept getting orders.
Yeah. Again, orders can be... No, I'm kidding.
And then I sort of do animals on surfboards. You get a nice piece of driftwood and little...
yeah.
And so many things you can do with a ball.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to just be a ball.
Far out.
So that's, I've done so many things now, and I'm thinking, I don't know what to do next with a ball. Where am I going to go?
I have no idea.
What's the space?
Man, that's pretty cool, though. Far out. So, for people that are watching or listening, obviously we highly advise people or highly recommend people to pop down to Rayburn House as well. But do you... I guess my question is, because you're part of the Rayburn House community and you kind of caretake it, if you will, do you kind of have art always in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if people were to want to actually come down and see your art, they could just simply walk into Rayburn House and be like, here's a piece by Wendy Cunliffe.
Yes, I think there's...
No eye.
Yeah. I think there's one left at the minute. My husband has a few more in.
Okay.
Mine fell quickly. But...
sense of satisfaction and pride.
But also, because I do some painting as well.
Right.
I've sold quite a few in the gallery there.
Yes.
So, not saying it's going to sell this time, but we've got an exhibition coming up soon, the calendar competition, which we do every year.
Yes.
It was just for members of Rayburn, but now we've opened it up to anybody.
Awesome.
And the theme is feeling the weather. So you can just do anything as long as you've got this idea that there's weather.
Yeah, sure.
So I have done an oil painting, which is called Bad Hair Day.
Bad Hair Day, yes.
But it's actually a hare with the wind blowing through him and getting all leaves stuck in him. So it's a pun, because I can't be serious.
Hair, rabbit. Hair, yes, right.
And then the other one is ceramics. So I've done a ceramic picture.
Yeah.
Because you've got to do a bit of both.
Yeah, why not? I mean, why not?
Yeah. So that'll be an opportunity to see some amazing work.
When's that happen?
It goes up on the 1st of August.
Okay, yep.
So the first day you'll be able to see it's the 2nd of August.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
For 4 weeks.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. And then we've got 2 judges.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember their names though.
That's okay. That's all right. But what an amazing exhibition and opportunity for anyone to contribute, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just nice for people to get their work out there. If you've only ever done one painting in your life and you want to see if, just put it out there, see what people think, because that's the exciting thing. If somebody buys your work or comments on your work, it's such a boost,
Yeah. Also, it encourages people to maybe come out of the woodwork. And, artists that have been local but have, may not have revealed themselves, for them to, contribute. I mean, much like what we do here, it's, we've been very, very fortunate and to find some truly amazing creative people that have been little gems sort of pop out of the woodwork. So, it's been really cool. So, 2nd of August is when people should sort of
flock there to see and buy.
Flock to Rayburn House with an open wallet.
Yes.
I will stay away then. No, I don't. She's like, no, you come first. Front of the line.
Yeah.
Wendy.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us today and talking. For me personally, it's been an absolute honour to have you here and be able to talk and discuss things and to help me learn as well, and for the audience to also learn not only about you but also about the creative endeavours that you do and everything, including my ignorance, which again I apologise for, because this is really what it's all about. It's just sitting down, learning about people and learning about art and all its different forms. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Wow, Wendy.
Yeah,
man.
What a genuinely good podcast.
I know, but what a genuinely nice person as well.
Yeah, hearty.
She was absolutely just so lovely.
Yeah.
And what were the so obviously we sort of talked at the start, about not really knowing much about pottery, and apologies in advance, Wendy. But what were the takeaways for you from it?
Well, I thought that they just used clay, but there's different types of clay.
Yes.
There's different ways to do pottery, and I'm like, oh gosh, I have gaps in my knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Like when she's talking about paper clay.
Yeah, I was like, holy hell, that's out
She's
of it.
like going, it's paper and clay, and I was like, wow, okay, obviously, yes, but I hadn't.
And just what each type is used for was quite interesting. So
how there's like clay for a wheel, and then there's how there's clay for sculpting.
Yeah.
And it was just so fascinating, and I felt like a bit of an idiot.
I also cracked up about the lawn mowing thing.
Yes,
because I was like, it seems to be like every Kiwi person's origin story is in lawn mowing as well, and but also that she was going around like when she was out and about lawn mowing, she was getting her inspiration from people's art in their gardens was a really fascinating point. Like
absolutely,
I've said this I think in a couple of these podcasts. Like inspiration is everywhere.
It is.
I just didn't. It's mind blowing to see what inspires people.
Yeah, so. Or earlier when she's talking about plants and nature and everything being perfectly symmetrical and stuff like that. And I was like going, well, we take those sorts of little things for granted.
It's like, aloe veras and stuff, how they kind of almost Fibonacci sequence out and all of that. Oh, my bad, too deep.
No. I was like, it was funny because I wanted to say that during the podcast. But I was like, a Fibonacci sequence, amazing. Yeah, very true though, Yeah, definitely. It's kind of one of those things where, she gets inspiration from everywhere, and although by the sounds of things, she's very cat orientated.
Yeah. And deliberately so.
I know
as well, because she did mention that she doesn't really do it on purpose. It just happens.
Exactly. And she's not even a cat person.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
And I think those sorts of little interesting things along the way were just so good. It was so much gold in there.
Yeah, for sure.
It was good. So, where can our listeners and viewers see this wonderfully talented artist?
So, as per usual, for our visuals, YouTube, Facebook and Instagram, Northland Artist Conversation. For audio, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, and that's also Northland Artist Conversation. And if you want to email us, if you're a creative in the area or you're coming to the area, we have an email set up. So that's hello@northlandartistconversation.co.nz.
Yeah, perfect. And for those of you that are wanting to do a little bit more than just your traditional like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that sort of stuff, we have a Patreon set up. And Patreon is a way to donate to the podcast to help us keep going, to keep supporting us. So we have 2 tiers. The first tier is called a cup of coffee, and that's $5 a month. And what that does, that just shows like a really nice commitment just to keep the podcast going, because all of this just takes time, effort, energy, and we need to make sure that we're continuing to move forward, but also so that we can continue to grow, because that's real. I think that's really important as well.
For sure.
Second tier is Coffee Addict. That's $20 a month. What that does, that gives you a couple of extra perks that the previous tier doesn't give you. And it's nice to be able to kind of feel like you're involved in the podcast as well, because it would be nice to have Patreons donating at that Coffee Addict level. So we can start engaging with them, because one of the perks you get from it is being able to ask questions. Which I think would be amazing. So that is patreon.com/Northland Artist Conversation. So super simple, super easy to find. Andrews, any final takeaways from you, mate?
No, I think that summed it up nicely, Mark.
Thank you kindly. So it's definitely some really cool people that we're going to be talking with in the next kind of few weeks as well. We've got a really good schedule. As you said, if you're a creative, reach out to us. Because, we want to talk with as wide a group of people as possible.
Yeah, indeed.
Our communications manager, Marino, she's done an amazing job.
She sure has.
So far. And Kat Tasker doing all of the social media.
Yeah.
Really cool. And then obviously yourself and Rocky and Tane. I know, but look, I'm just the guy that sits here and talks with the people, but I don't make any of this happen without you guys. So I really appreciate the work that you guys do. It's amazing, and these podcasts look like $1 million.
Yeah, it's nice to see it all just humming along. So.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. So, straight down the camera. My name is Mark Kelly.
And I'm Andrew McKenzie.
And this is the Northland Artist Conversation. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you guys real soon.